Hey everybody, how you doing? Krista, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a while, man.
I know, it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, there's been so much going on Saturdays. It's been
I
crazy.
know. We
So,
do a record on a Thursday before your show to get together.
yeah, right. Yep.
But
It's been good.
yeah, with Easter coming up, my work's going to be crazy. I don't know if I'm going to even make it home in time to do the show on Saturday. And we have a great guest here behind backstage. And yeah, and he agreed to come on tonight to do a pre-record, which works out just perfectly. So we're going to have Ryan Edwards come on here in just a few minutes, talk about more cryptid stuff. He's been a cryptozoologist for a long time, and he is just young. I mean, he's
right.
23, he said he is.
Yeah, my kids are older than he is.
Yeah. When I was 23, well, in my 20s, I don't remember my 20s. I think I drank most of my 20s away.
Yeah, me too.
But, and here he is down in Texas, researching Bigfoot, making a big name for himself.
Yeah, writing books and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. But, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we get going, this is all fun and stuff and everything. I wanted to make a quick shout out. I just found out today that down in Florida State University, there was a on-campus shooting. I mean, this is just crazy.
I didn't hear anything about that. Wow.
Yeah, it just happened like maybe an hour or two ago.
Wow.
6 dead. There was 2 shooters. One of the shooters dead. This is all real quick information.
Oh God.
So guys,
prayers for Florida, man.
Yeah, prayers for Florida. Prayers for everybody. Let's stop doing this stuff. Let's
Paul, that's the thing though. When you and I were kids, people used to carry guns in the back of their cars, to school. Mm-hmm. We never had school shootings or it just blows me away. Why?
I've lived in St. Louis all my life, and still even here in a bigger city, I remember seeing pickup trucks with rifles on the rack in the back of it, and I didn't think anything of it. And we would be able to ride our bikes for a couple miles away from home by ourselves, and didn't have anything to worry about. And this is just crazy.
Yeah, I wonder what and why or how it's changed. That could be a whole show on itself.
It could be.
Is it the food? Is it, what is it?
Yeah. I mean, is it the internet? Is it games? Is it, I don't know what it is, but I really wish we would go back to it and go back to the way things were when we were kids. And,
scary world.
Yeah, scary world. But anyway, I wanted to mention that, throw a shout out to all the people down at FSU. Hope everybody is safe, and we don't need to hear this anymore. So anyway, off with the negative, on with the positive. We have a conference coming up, and one of the special guests for that conference is joining us right now. Let's bring him up on stage. Ryan Edwards, how are you doing, young man?
Hey guys, doing good. Pleasure to be here.
Glad to hear.
I as I said that, how you doing, young man? I really felt like I was about 80 years old when older gentlemen like that say, "How you doing, young man?" When I was like a little kid, like, oh man.
Right.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a bit busy schedule as well, so I appreciate you taking time today to join.
I got you, brother.
Absolutely.
Weird hair on my lip or something like that.
You okay, Paul?
Probably should have taken care of this before we started, but I don't know, weird things happen when I hit record. Again, Ryan, you're down in San Antonio, and real quick, right off the bat, you have something coming up this Wednesday. It's the Symposium of the Strange down in San Antonio. Give us, if you guys are in the area, let people know how you can get tickets, where they can get tickets, and what this is all about.
Yeah. Of course. Symposium of Strange, it's a series of events. It's like, imagine a conference, but only one guest. only having one person up on stage, and it's a much more like intimate feel than your conference. This is helped put on by a good friend of mine, Chris Jordan of the Curious Realms podcast. He's up in Austin. Got a good friend of mine, Rod Nichols. He's a Bear County Bigfoot. He's based here in San Antonio as well. We kind of put on this event of like, okay, let's bring out a different speaker every couple months. We've had Ken Gerhard, myself. We've had alien abductees. Right now we're having Greg Radabod come out. Greg Radabod, he specializes in remote viewing. And we try to bring up like a different like theme every couple months. We try to do it like every other odd month. Like for instance, like we're doing April, probably do one in June. And we try to bring in like different like little paranormal or like esoteric ideas, stuff that people don't really think about. Things that like only if you're in the field of like Bigfoot or paranormal that you really hear about. Yeah. We try to bring in different perspectives, different ideas. It's kind of like bringing like the podcast like this to the people. Cool. Like usually the guest at the end of the night, we have a live, like literally a live interview on stage where Chris Jordan does an interview with the guest. And we have a QR code that people can literally type in a question like, oh, I had this question, let me type it in. And then you can ask that question in person. It's something that like I really haven't seen done. But I think the last time I've heard about this stuff like this going on was way back in the day, like Crypto Mundo, way back in the day. They're like monthly events. And we do it here in San Antonio. It's located at a place called Match Time Machine. It's a themed restaurant where I also work part-time. And there's like a little bar in the back with a little stage that we do karaoke and stuff like that. We can fit like 40, 50 people. So it's like a little like mini conference. It's stuff and people you'll never expect to meet. Like, for instance, like the first event we had Ken Gerhard, and someone's like, I know that guy. He was on Monster Quest, right? It's like, yeah, you get to meet people that you would never expect to meet. Right. It's a really fun little event here.
Yeah, very cool. You did Wolf, too. Josh Turner, too, didn't you?
We did have Josh Turner on our lineup. Last minute, he got sick, so we weren't able to have him come in. I was the presenter at that point, and I'm like, I know Dogman a little bit, but like I can do something like give like a little bit of the history and stuff like that. Gotcha. But like we love to try to bring in like especially local people, like doing like promotional work for this event. I'm realizing there's a lot more like paranormal groups in San Antonio I never knew about. Like I found like there's a whole haunted doll museum here in town that I didn't know existed until I did this event. Yeah, and that's really what this is for. Is like networking, getting to know people, talking to like eyewitnesses, and like you might have someone that's seen a cryptid or seen a ghost or something like that. They don't know who to talk to, so we bring them to an event like this. And like, oh, I can talk to Ryan Edwards, I can talk to Ken Gerhard, I can talk to Chris Jordan, and give us that data and talk to eyewitnesses that we would never expect to talk to.
Yeah, very
and
cool.
One of the really go ahead, Krista.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, well, if you're interested in Brad and Barry Kling, they're right there in your area, and I can definitely hook you up with them.
Actually, I think they were our second presenters were Brad and Barry. We brought them in because I kind of like the first three events we did cryptozoology, UFOs, and then we had ghosts. Like I like to call it like the big three of like the paranormal field.
Right.
Awesome.
That's cool. And one of the really cool things about that, as opposed to a show like this, is after you guys do your interview, the people who are in the audience and watching can actually go up and talk to the people that are presenting or whatever, unlike the chat where they can just, throw questions up here and there. But that's pretty cool.
It's really fun. Like, for instance, when we had Brad and Barry Kling out, the place that we are at, Match Time Machine, literally our bartender goes and does ghost hunting in that bar sometimes, because we've had like weird little like paranormal events, and him and the guys that ghost hunt were literally able to go up and talk to Brad and Barry Kling and say like, hey, we've gotten this evidence here, we've done this, and it's like a cool little like seeing that like little like the intimacy of like being able to talk to someone, able to like have an actual conversation. It's really cool to see.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Awesome what you're doing.
And where can people go to get tickets?
Tickets are available on supposedunderstrange.com. I have a link to it in my Facebook and my Instagram page. If you look up Symposium of Strange, it will pop up. We do sell event tickets. We used to have a VIP ticket, but due to just expenses and stuff like that, we no longer sell one. But I believe the general admission tickets are $15. I believe, like
wow.
pretty much. They're really. We try to make them inexpensive so people can buy them. Kids come in for free, of course, but pretty much what that is to help us like pay our speakers and make sure, like, hey, if you're an important person, we want to make sure like you also get a table as well. Like all of our speakers have a table where they can sell their books, sell whatever DVDs or things like that. So it kind of helps really connect to the community.
Nice.
That's awesome, and it's affordable for everybody. I like that idea.
And the thing is, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Chris Jordan, you mentioned, he's actually, he's a great guy too. He's doing our tech stuff for our conference. So
yeah, no, like, it's funny because especially like the group I kind of like call it a group I'm with, like Chris Jordan, Tex Weston, and all them. Like I've known them, like even you for a couple years, Krista. Like I think I met Tex at the Jefferson Bigfoot conference back in like 2021, and I met Chris at the same event, and I've kind of just been with the same little group ever since, like getting to do networking and having like a good group that I trust and that I know in this field.
Sure, absolutely.
That's important to help you grow, meet new people with the same interests, and I can certainly relate to that. Meeting Krista here, last year?
Almost maybe 2 years ago, maybe almost. I don't know.
It's been a while. Yeah.
We're all friends now.
December. Yeah. Yeah, and it's I've loved every second of knowing her, and it's awesome, and like you said, you network and you meet new people from these people, and it's amazing.
What it's about.
Yeah.
We're all about enriching other people and helping everybody. That's what we're all looking for, the same answers.
Yeah. Well, like one thing that like me and Chris and Rod have talked about is like, because all of us have like little different perspectives on this, and like we even brought up like maybe having an event with a symposium of like bringing in different perspectives. Like we could have like with Bigfoot, we could have someone that thinks it's something metaphysical and someone that thinks it's physical, and be able to not have a debate where we just start yelling at each other, but have an actual conversation. Because that's one thing that I love about the paranormal field, especially cryptozoology, is that you have so many different perspectives, and I like to find like the middle ground of like, okay, I might think differently than you, but why do I think differently than you? And how can we kind of find the middle ground? Because like what you said, we're all looking for the same things. We might use different methodologies, but we're also trying to get to the same answers.
Absolutely.
And if someone's using a different, technique or whatever than you, and maybe you can try something different, and maybe you come up with a better answer or a different answer, or find something that you never thought you would have.
Yeah, like for instance, like perspectives change, paradigms change, and I always tell people this: just because something is different doesn't mean it's bad. Just because someone's perspective is different than yours doesn't mean they're wrong or you're right. Because like I always bring up Schrodinger's cat, like quantum physics. You don't know the cat's alive or dead in the box. Like we don't know what all this stuff is unless it's identified and measured. Like when it comes to cryptozoology, like especially let's just say Bigfoot, we don't know what Bigfoot is. I think it's an ape. I think it's an unknown ape, but it doesn't mean I'm right or I'm wrong. We don't know until we discover it.
Absolutely.
And the key there is you're not telling other people that they're wrong. You're accepting it, and well, why do they think this way? Instead of, well, you're wrong. It's my way, not the highway. I like
I'm one of those people that like if there's like a logical fallacy, I'll bring it up to people. Like, oh well, logically it might not work like that, or scientifically that might not work. But even then, like we've noticed, especially in recent years, science and stuff like that, like doesn't always have the answers. Like that's why like supernatural, it's beyond natural. Paranormal, it's beyond normal. So how can we learn from what we know and apply that to what we don't know? Because the biggest question is knowing what you don't know. And that's what I'm really into this for, is asking those questions. Because how can we ever get to the answers without asking in the first place?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, let's dive into talking about how you got into cryptozoology and how you got interested in and cryptids and Bigfoot and all that stuff. You're 23 now. I mean, when did you start with all this?
Well, it's always funny. It always makes Ken Gerhardt and a lot of Blackburn feel old. But I was watching shows with people like that. People were like Jeff Meldrum. Like one of my earliest memories was sitting in my living room and Monster Quest came on. Like if anyone remembers Monster Quest, it was a Thunderbird episode. Seeing the Thunderbird fly across the scene, and like I was like every little boy. I was into monsters, Scooby Doo, dinosaurs, and I'm like, oh, so monsters are real. And then that kind of really hooked me in. And then I went to the like library and checked out every Bigfoot book I could think of, like Loch Ness Monster, stuff like that. And I started watching things like American Monsters and Mysteries in America, Monster Quest, Finding Bigfoot, reading books like Cryptozoology A to Z, and really learning about what cryptozoology was. Because I kind of have a viewpoint of myself. I'm really kind of an old-fashioned cryptozoologist. Like I'm very much like someone that looks akin to like Bernard Hoovermans or Ivan T. Sanderson. Like I come at it from a very much a biological perspective. Right. Like I love nature, I love paleontology, and that's what I really come with cryptozoology with. Like ghost hunting, like ghost shows and all that stuff. I love it too, but it's not really my specialty. Right. Like my specialty goes in towards okay, so let's look at the paleontological record, or let's look at the zoological record, and what can we learn from that and apply it to cryptid sightings. And like I remember really what got me into the field itself was writing my first book. I wrote Cryptids of the World back in 2020. Like what happened was, not to make you guys feel old, but I graduated class of 2020. And of course COVID happened and I'm like, oh, I can't go to school anymore. So what am I going to do? Oh, like Cryptids of the World was actually like a field guide for myself. It was like, okay, I have all this knowledge about all these random cryptids. Let me write it down so I don't forget it. But I was like, oh, this is perspectives I haven't really seen people bring out, or like there's cryptids in there that people really haven't heard about until since the 1980s.
Right.
So I wrote it all down and went to a publisher and got it published. And then I kind of fell in love with writing itself, and I've done 2 books since, and kind of those 2 books are continuations of the same idea, because it's all about like prehistoric cryptids and the prehistory of like Bigfoot and stuff like that. Right. And what I think I did, like the first time I met really a cryptozoologist was Ken Gerhardt, because I looked at like, okay, let me see who's local. Oh, Ken Gerhardt lives in San Antonio. That's cool. And he was doing an event up in like a small town north of here called Bandera. He was at a local library. I went to him and I was like, hey, like my name's Ryan. Hello. You don't know who I am, but I'm writing this book. What do you think about it? And he's like, no, that sounds really cool. Like, he's like, we need young people in this field. So I got it published and went to the Jefferson Bigfoot Conference, and I guess the rest is history. Like, heck, I went to the Jefferson Bigfoot Conference as a visitor back in like 2016, and now in 2025, I'm one of the featured speakers. Like, it's weird to see how far I've gone from just being a fan of cryptozoology to being like someone that writes the books and is like on podcasts about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just think in another 25 years, you could be the next Ken Gerhardt or Lyle Blackburn, you know?
I try to push it. I'm like, well, hopefully 5. But like, I make the joke to Ken and Lyle every so often. I'm like, I'm coming for your jobs, guys. I'm right here. Like,
they're both great. They are both, fantastic.
Like, I remember, I think it was Mignolo. It was like Southeast Texas Bigfoot Conference. And like, it was like, I was eating dinner with like Josh Wolf Turner. And then like Ken was there, Lau was there, Adam Davies. And I was like, I'm eating with people like look up as heroes. This is so weird. Like, it was like a real like, out of body moment, because these are people that I looked up to and I still look up to.
Sure.
And I would watch on TV, and now I'm like going to conferences with them and having dinner with them. It's just really like a surreal moment.
And pretty soon you're going to be the speaker, and they're going to be in the audience watching you.
Yep.
I hope so, because like how I see it, like for instance, my 9-to-5 job, I'm a teacher, and I want to become a history teacher. And like I look at the past of cryptozoology, and hopefully learn from the past in order to go towards the future. Like, our good friend Jason McLean, he always makes the joke of like, "This is the future of cryptozoology," as myself, and I'm like, well, I hope so, because I can look at the past and learn from the past, and hopefully make the discoveries we want to one day.
Yeah.
You're the Indiana Jones of cryptozoology.
I think all of us want to be Indiana Jones. I think it's the hats.
Just don't go jumping into a tank as it's driving in the desert or something like that.
No, that's actually the funny part, because it's a joke, because the place I work at, that Match Time Machine restaurant, it's actually a themed restaurant where all the different waiters dress up as different characters, and guess what character I dress up as?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm real life Indiana Jones.
Hey, I mean, there could be worse.
Yeah, it works.
I mean, could be Pee Wee Herman. I mean, that's, you know.
He didn't last long. We had a Pee Wee once. None of the kids knew who he was, and I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry, buddy.
Wow, I feel really old now.
Right? I know, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome.
So, you know, real quick, getting back to your books. Well, I'll have the links to all your books. You can get them on Amazon. Just check out the show notes, and I'll try and get in the chat and put them up in the chat on Saturday as well. So make sure you guys check those out. They're not expensive.
Yeah.
No.
How I see it, knowledge should be able to be taken by everyone. Like, that's why, like, even a lot of times at my conferences, I do like, oh, if you buy one, you get one half off, stuff like that. I'm not this field's not in it to make money. This field's about education and spreading the word and informing people about a world that they don't know is out there, about beings and creatures and animals that they don't know exist, or they just hear about it in a TV show and say, oh, skinwalkers sound cool, but don't go beyond that. Or Bigfoot sounds, oh, that could be real. But then it's like people like me and like Ken and Tex and other people that are like, oh, here's the next step. Here's like, oh no, here's the evidence. Here's the eyewitness accounts. And here could be the plausibility of these creatures existing. Yeah. And really educating people on the field of cryptozoology.
Awesome. Very cool. What is your favorite cryptid and why?
Always everyone's favorite question. It's hard because it switches up every so often. I love researching Bigfoot because that's like my bread and butter. Yeah. But for me, it's got to be the Nandi bear. I do love the Nandi bear. This is a large unknown carnivore found in the Nandi region of Africa. Nandi region is named after Nandi people. It's in western Kenya. And what people initially describe it as is a large bear-like species, hence the name. But in further research, a lot of cryptozoologists like myself believe this is not actually a giant bear species, because the only indigenous bears to Africa was Agriotherium. And Agriotherium was a Tremartine bear. These bears would have stood 13, 14 feet on two legs. I think if that thing was running around, we would have found it by now. Right. What we think it is a Dinopithecine. Dinopithecus was actually have you guys ever seen the movie After Earth with, I think it was like Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith?
In a long time, but yes.
I have not seen that.
Remember the giant baboons in that movie?
Okay, yeah.
Those things were real at one time. Dinopithecus was a giant baboon the size of like a small bear. And it was a carnivore. Its canines would have been about that long. Wow. And we knew these things preyed on gazelles and even Homo erectus, our early hominid species. So when people describe these Nandi bears, they're describing a very large baboon. And I think, and other people think, this Nandi bear could be surviving populations of giant Dinopithecus. And the thing is about, especially African cryptids, there's not a lot of modern day research into them. Like, it's a very niche thing within cryptozoology, which is already niche itself. Like some of my favorite cryptids are the international cryptids because we don't have podcasts about those. We barely hear eyewitness accounts of these creatures because they just don't have that name recognition, like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dog, stuff like that. That's why I try to bring in the perspectives and research of these lesser known cryptids, because you might see them referenced once in one book.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try to do more of the research. Like, okay, so maybe could there be more signs of these animals that we just don't hear about? And like, where could they possibly still be existing nowadays?
Wow, very cool.
Have you? I'm assuming you haven't been down to Africa to investigate.
No, because I always have to make the joke like people are like, why don't you do research? I'm like, guys, I'm a broke college student that's also an educator. I don't make enough money for that. But
Right.
like my ultimate goal is hopefully one day to go internationally. And what I would love to do is spend like a month on one continent and just travel around and do all types of research. But that takes a lot of logistics and a lot of like what we said, money. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping one day that's my ultimate goal. But like you have to kind of build up to that. And it's like my ultimate goal is to adventure around the world looking for cryptids, but try to keep the romanticism out of it. Like the idea of like Indiana Jones going through the jungle with a machete, that type of stuff. Like it's not about like adventuring; it's about the science. It's about the really the steps of discovery in order to discover these animals.
Sure.
That would be pretty cool to travel out to Africa and check this thing out or see what you can find on it. I mean that's just like us going to different states or even in Europe or any other places looking for ghosts and stuff. But that would be, I think that would be pretty darn interesting. I'm looking at that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you said have you witnessed any of these any Bigfoot or anything?
With me, as of my knowledge, no. I've had one weird experience in Brown Springs, Oklahoma, when I went camping with Tex Wesson and his group. Like, it was my first time ever experiencing the like zone of silence. Like the idea of like you go into an area in complete silence. First time I ever experienced that. But beyond that, I heard maybe a couple wood knocks, a couple whoops. But as of like eyewitness accounts, I can't think of any time I've seen a cryptid because like field research is one of my goals, but as of now, it's not something I do a lot with because just time and effort. But like I'm one of those people that like I'm very much the armchair researcher right now, the person that looks at the guidebooks, that looks at the history books. But my goal is for one day to be doing field research and having the time and like funds to go out to like the Pacific Northwest and look for Sasquatch, or East Texas and do Bigfoot hunting, or like go to like the Southwest and do like research into like the skinwalkers and stuff like that.
Right. Very cool.
That would be kind of scary to do the search for
skinwalkers would be a little scary.
That's the type of stuff that like I stick with cryptozoology, and like skinwalkers and wendigos and stuff like that is something that I think is beyond cryptozoology. So I'm like Bigfoot, even Dogman to an extent is kind of iffy with me because with me, especially with cryptozoology, there's two forms of cryptozoology I like to say. There's cryptozoology, Bigfoot, flesh and blood animals, and then there's paracryptozoology, paracryptids, things like Dogman, Goatman that couldn't have evolved naturally. So it suggests something else is going on here. Are they ultra dimensional? Are they spiritual? Are they extraterrestrial? That's really not one I really specialize in, but paracryptids, like if I could coin that term, is something that's really interesting to me because like the ideas of like even human psychology, like how does psychosis and like human psyche affect our perspectives into reality and perspectives into cryptozoology. Like cryptozoology is like a mix of so many fields. Zoology, paleontology, anthropology, or even psychology, because that's something that people don't really think of, is that your psyche and your perspectives affect everything you see. Your paradigms affect everything you see. Your reality is different from someone else's reality.
Yeah.
So how can that affect your perspectives into the paranormal and like cryptids?
Totally understand. I get it.
Right. Last week we had Ken Gerhard on. I mentioned that to you backstage, and we talked a lot about the Loch Ness monster. What are your thoughts on Nessie?
when it comes to like the Loch Ness monster, my perspective on it is that the idea of like a unknown plesiosaur living in Loch Ness is very unlikely because, first of all, the Loch Ness is connected to the ocean via the River Ness, but it really, with me, the ideas of like lake monsters are very unsubstantiated because of just the ideas of like how large is the lake, how many animals would you have to have for a breeding population. Usually, biologists suggest between 50 and 500 individuals. I don't think there's 50 plesiosaurs living in Loch Ness.
Right.
Could this be some type of ocean creature that has traveled into the loch every so often and then travels back out? I think some of the sightings are possibly like whales, maybe cetaceans like dolphins and stuff,
Yeah.
or even gray sharks, like these basking sharks. Maybe travel into Loch Ness, but then travel right back out. Another theory people bring up is ideas of like underground tunnels, because it's interesting. A lot of the lochs around Loch Ness also have stories of unknown creatures. You have Morag of Loch Morag. That's only like I think 20 or 30 miles away from Loch Ness.
Right.
So could these be a unknown population of animals traveling between the lochs? It could be, but truly, I think Loch Ness, especially Nessie, is more of a creation of culture, creation of human psyche. Because not a lot of people realize that back in 19, I think it was 1932, when the first Loch Ness monster sighting happened on the highway that goes by Loch Ness, someone described a plesiosaur-like creature crossing the road and then jumping into the loch. Oh, a movie released like a week before that, The Lost World, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's book. Uh, so I think a lot of these cryptids are what I like to call cultural cryptids, things that have been changing and perspectives have changed on due to the culture around us. Like one thing I really kind of specialize in, and I research a lot into, is like dinosaur-like cryptids, Monkama Bembe, Mila Toka, the different cryptids seen in Africa. And a lot of these cryptid sightings occur after like the Lost World or like King Kong, like the ideas of like surviving dinosaurs in a jungle. But then that idea changes into someone's reality, hence the ideas of like the Loch Ness monster and stuff like that.
Right. Gotcha.
Very interesting.
The Loch Ness monster, that I'm intrigued by that, and some of the things you said. I've watched a lot of different TV shows where they dive down and, look for it and, that kind of stuff. And they never have any luck.
Yeah, like I'm on his opinion. Like if we've been doing this for almost 100 years now and really haven't discovered anything, the perspective of finding something is really unlikely. But then again, you can use that same perspective with Bigfoot. But I'm like, that's why like really lake monsters is so unlikely because with like something like a terrestrial cryptid, you have so much space you can go into. With a lake or a river, you only have that much space and you don't have that much area. And especially something like a plesiosaur, it's an air-breathing creature. We would see them breach every couple of hours.
Yeah.
But we don't have that evidence.
Yeah. And Loch Ness monster, that's one of my long time I don't know how to describe it, but that's one of the things that kind of, when I was a kid, that I kind of drew my interest into this. And, I didn't research it as in depth as you might have, but that was one of the things that man, that thing seems pretty cool. Kind of read a little bit about it, and basically that was it for me on that. But,
make you think twice about swimming in a lake, huh?
especially in England or United Kingdom. Definitely. But yeah, that is very interesting. I wouldn't mind heading out that way sometime and maybe taking a look in there and see what it is. And I if I'm remembering right, I thought Ken was saying that the depths, it's a pretty deep lake there, and it's pretty murky too, right? Yeah. So I mean, seeing something down there, it would be kind of difficult. It'd be a great place to hide.
Yeah, I know. I know they done eDNA research into it, like the DNA in the water. I can't think of the results off of my head right now, but like something like that would be really interesting. Of like, is there unknown like DNA in the water of Loch Ness? Like,
Sure.
I get a researcher that actually lives here in San Antonio as well. Dr. Ketchum. I don't know, Dr. Hasselhart.
Robert Ketchum?
Not Ketchum, Hasselhart. He was a speaker at the Jefferson Bigfoot conference, and he does eDNA. Like he looks into like where there's a Bigfoot sighting, and he takes DNA samples of the water and sees if there is any type of unknown DNA within it. It takes a long time for the results to come out because there's lab testing and all that. But
Sure.
I think that's really the future of cryptozoology is looking at eDNA samples and like looking at if there's any unknown DNA or unknown primate in these samples that we find.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have any more books in the works?
In the works right now, not really 100%. I do have an idea about, well, kind of like right now, what I'm trying to work on is my first book, Cryptids of the World. I kind of want to split it up into multiple books and have a Cryptids of a by continent series. Cryptids of Africa, Cryptids of Asia, Cryptids of North America, and really go more into detail of these cryptids and really bring out the research and really help inform people about cryptids that they've never heard about. In the past couple of months, I've been doing cryptids of Africa. I've been trying to do as much research into that as I can, but what's really hard is that everyone has a Bigfoot story. Everyone knows about like Dogman, but like Nandy Bear or the Agugwi, there's not a lot of primary sources on these creatures.
Right.
So it's a lot of like further detail, but also it's a lot of stuff that people don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I'm currently researching. I'm hoping to try to get it worked on during the summer when I'm free.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a possible series I might be working on in the next couple of years.
Wow. Good deal. And also too, like you mentioned like the Gugway, so as far as like eyewitnesses, chances are people aren't going to survive a Gugway encounter,
Yeah.
So maybe that's a lot of it too, why, you don't hear a whole lot because they don't make it.
Yeah, like I think the missing 411 phenomenon might occur for a reason. Like,
right.
How many people see these creatures and just you have to have an eyewitness to make an eyewitness report, and if there's no eyewitness, there's no report.
Exactly.
And there's also a lot of remote places in Africa that might not have a place to report things to, and that would be. I would think that would be a little bit difficult as well.
Yep.
That's why, like, for instance, like the symposium, I love the ideas of these of like having like little local mini conferences where people can go and talk to like a cryptozoologist or talk to like a paranormal researcher.
Yeah.
And that's why like people like Ken and Lyle and like people even like Dr. Carl Schuker, like I really look up to because they have the like name recognition that people can go online and like reach out to these people and like, oh, like I have this weird sighting. What do you suggest and what do you think? And they're able to email or like keep a contact with these people, and we can get those eyewitness accounts and get that data because like me and Chris Jordan talk about it all the time. We need those data sets in order to go to the next level of research and seeing what does the data mean. Like, what do the eyewitness accounts suggest? Are there patterns that we can see? A good researcher friend of mine, Emily Fleur of the Forest Fleur, she's a Bigfoot researcher, and she does like a sightings map. And she looks at it and she can see like patterns, and we can see like, okay, maybe there are certain color species.
Right.
Maybe like when in the fall we see a certain individual, stuff like that. That's really the data I look at, and what can we learn from that data?
Right. Right.
So, do you get your stuff from data maps, encounter maps, or do you get your stuff from people giving you their encounter experience?
A lot of it is data maps right now because, well, I get eyewitness accounts every so often, but not much. Like, I don't know. I'm a people person, but like when it comes to like eyewitnesses, testimony, and stuff like that, I don't get a lot of it really because just I think name recognition and also like I don't know, maybe my email was not out there enough, I guess. But like I love talking to eyewitnesses at conferences and stuff like that, but really, like people reaching out to me about their like eyewitness accounts doesn't really happen much for me.
Yeah.
That's why, like for instance, podcasters and people that do like the Bigfoot stories or like cryptid stories, I really like talking to people like that because they have the data, they have the eyewitness accounts, and then I'm someone that has like, okay, no, like this is the ecology, this is the zoology, this is like the known science. So
Right.
how can we mix those eyewitness accounts into known science
Sure.
and kind of see like could there be like those perspectives of and things of cryptozoology? I don't think a lot of people like really bring into it. Like for instance, ecology. Like if there is a unknown primate in North America, what would its niche be? What would it be eating? Is there an ecosystem that would be able to sustain it? And that's the stuff that I really try to look at.
Right.
Do you have an encounter story, whether it was told to you or whether you found it on a research somehow, that is truly unbelievable, unique, crazy? Whether it's, Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, Mothman, whatever.
I try to believe everything I see. Like my perspective is like to believe eyewitness accounts, but like I can't think of any particular point off my head. But like stuff of like they're really like seeing like a Bigfoot in the middle of a city street, stuff like that. Like every so often you will get like the crazies at a conference. Like I've had people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, here's this picture. This is a picture of a Bigfoot, and it's a picture of a truck." And you're like, "Oh, like one time I was at a conference and this person gave me a photo, and they're like, there's 50 Bigfoot in this photo." I'm like, "There's like 5 trees in this photo, but I don't see what you're seeing. That doesn't mean they're not there. Please don't go crazy and stab me in the spleen or something." So, like. I don't see what you're seeing, but that doesn't mean it's not real. Because that's also the question of like reality itself. Like people's perspectives alter their reality. Maybe they all see 50 Bigfoot in a photo.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just their own perspective, their own maybe little psychosis.
Sure.
But also a lot of people, they want to believe so much in these creatures and this field that it creates their own like psychology of belief.
I would agree.
It almost becomes a religion. And I'm like, this isn't a religion, this is a science.
Yep, absolutely. What are your thoughts about, you hear about people like mind speaking and things like that with these things. What are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting thing because, like, I think one of the first times I think I heard of mind speak was actually from Stroud, Survivor Man, like with a Survivor Man Bigfoot, because he's something that like you would probably suggest you would trust their pathos, you would trust their character. It's an interesting phenomena. I've never experienced it, of course. I think if I did, I'd probably think I'm going crazy. But I think it could be a reality. Because think about it. If humans have like psychic abilities and stuff like that, why wouldn't other high order primates? Like if this Sasquatch creature is so similar to humans, I don't think it's a human. I think it's convergently evolved to be very similar to us. But maybe something like a mind speak would be a very successful way of communication. Like evolutionarily, we have no like evidence for it, but it'd be a really good adaptation to have. Like imagine being able to talk to someone and not be heard by other predators or other species. Like it would be a good adaptation. Of course, we have no evidence for the adaptation within nature, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Maybe we just don't know about it yet. So I think it could occur, but just what the science behind it is, I have no idea. I don't think anyone has an idea what the science behind mind speaking would be, because that goes into like the supernatural, the paranormal, like the more psychic abilities of a being.
Yeah.
What about some encounters of people who encounter Bigfoot and the Bigfoots are trying to communicate not through mind speak, but we're fine, we're not going to hurt you or anything, stuff like that. Have you come across any of those?
I've heard of stories like that before. Like I think I think I had one eyewitness in Alabama talk about like when I think they aimed a gun at one and it put its hands up. And that's a very human-like behavior, but also thinking about it from primatology. What do animals do when they get scared? They put their arms up. Gibbons are known for putting their arms up and hooting because it makes you look bigger. It makes you feel more powerful when compared to a predator. So putting your hands up like this is a very human-like response, but it's a very primate response too.
Right.
Like I think when they do this, like it's very much like facial cues and body language is very common within Bigfoot eyewitness accounts. Like the ideas of like them looking away from you. Like eye to eye contact with primates is a threat response. It's a like I'm trying to show you my like power. Like a great example of this is the Mayaka ape photo. The photo of like what people think is a skunk ape walking away from a person. You see it do this. It grits its teeth. It shows its teeth. For primates, us humans, we think, oh, you're smiling. That's funny. But with primates, like gorillas and chimps, that's a I'm scared response. I'm scared. I'm going to show you my teeth. I'm going to show you I'm big and bad to show you that I don't feel comfortable, that I'm trying to leave here. And you see that in that photo. And it's funny because not a lot of people know that. Like, unless you're a primatologist or you maybe watch a lot of nature documentaries, you wouldn't think about that. Like, it's always funny when I go to zoos and stuff like that, when people look at apes and they smile and they show their teeth, that's a threat response. That's a I'm nervous response, that they don't know what they're doing because that like communication between one species to another species.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that because I mean I've been to the zoos and or watch TV and you see them doing that.
Yeah.
A lot of the primates, different primates.
Yeah, like it's a very like primate behavior. That's why it's always interesting with me and Sasquatch because that's why I really think it's a natural species because its behavior, its morphology, its ecological niche is very naturalistic. It's very much comparison to the natural species. Like it has primate behaviors, it has primate anatomy. That's why ultimately I think it's a physical species. That's put me in some hot water in the past because so many different perspectives on Bigfoot, but that's just where my research lies is these animals being a natural species, living and breeding in North America as we speak.
Yeah.
So you mentioned eye contact before. I'm a big dog lover, and one of the things about dogs is when they make consistent eye contact with you, that means they trust you or they're like you or love you or something like that. Do you think that with the Sasquatch that's similar, that they're trying to trust you? Or
it's a possibility because actually about a year or so ago I was trying to do a research project about this is Bigfoot eyes. Think about it. As humans, we have white sclera. We have whites in our eyes. Not all other species have that. So I've talked to some eyewitness accounts. There's not a lot of eyewitnesses that know the Bigfoot eyes, like have seen them, but some have suggested like a white sclera, like a human. That's very suggestive of a high cognitive species. Like chimps and gorillas don't have white scleras. They do, but they're like on the edge of the eye. You can't really see it. Primatologists and paleoanthropologists think our white sclera helps with communication. If I look, you can see where I'm looking. That helps with hunting. That helps with communication. And if these Sasquatch have the same thing, that's a suggestion of these being really high order primates and very social primates. Like, and that's why I think maybe like with the eye contact, especially with Sasquatch, that could be suggestion of like a very high intelligence animal, and maybe they would be trying to get trust or something like that. Because that also brings in the ideas of like, what is it called? Like when people have the same family of Bigfoot on one property for like generations. I forget what it's called right now. I'm having a brain fart, but those are the type of things I really want to do more research into because that's where we get the behavior sets. That's where we can see what the behavior of these species really are, and what could that be suggestive of? Because I see a lot of stuff we've done with Bigfoot so far really hasn't worked, or it's worked a little bit. So what can we look at it from a primatological record? Like be like how Jane Goodall did. Like she earned the trust of the chimps before they ever came to her. That's why I really look up to researchers like Shelley Covington, Montana, that she goes out in the wilderness for months at a time. That's what it's really going to take to discover the species is looking at it from a zoological, primatological perspective, and then doing that research and really going into like the next step of like going into wilderness and looking for these animals because they're not going to come to us. We have to go to them.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think about, you hear people who have been, hit by like infrasound and things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think infrasound is highly likely with a species. Recent studies, I think in 2022, show that gorillas can produce infrasound. So large order primates we know can produce infrasound. But in some species of bears, tigers, elephants, if we know known species can do this, why couldn't an unknown species do this?
Sure.
Especially with a high order primate. Like we've had ideas of zapped. For instance, when I had that zone of silence that occurred to me that one time, that could have easily been infrasound. And we've had, like, even I'll bring this up, I tell people this. We've known with infrasound it can create auditory and visual hallucinations. With certain frequencies of infrasound, it vibrates the liquid in your eyes. And it can make you see stuff that isn't there or unsee stuff that is there.
Wow.
What if Bigfoot that disappear in front of you, what if that's infrasound? What if these animals are so good with this infrasound that they can literally choose the frequency they use and disappear right in front of you?
Yeah.
What do a lot of Native American tribes talk about? Bigfoot is right there. You just don't see it.
Yeah.
What if this is infrasound? Like, I always tell people this, magic is a science we don't know. Like, infrasound is literally sonic science is magic we just don't know. It's science that it's really in its infancy. I think we'll make a lot of discoveries with especially biological infrasound that can be applied to cryptozoology, especially Sasquatch.
Right. Interesting.
That is very interesting point about the infrasound and disappearing in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's even suggested that maybe like infrasound cause like lights in the eyes. What if that's orbs? How many people see orbs in Sasquatch? What if they don't physically change into balls of light? Maybe this is like an after image of like infrasonic, like occurring in your eyeballs. Like, what do you see after a flash of like light in a camera? You see orbs, right? Like floaters. Well, if this is a very similar phenomena, but it's occurring literally within your brain, not like on your sclera. That's a really interesting point that people really haven't looked into that like maybe we should look a little bit more into for.
Right.
Yeah. See, that was going to be my next question. What are your thoughts on the orbs that people see around Sasquatch?
I just think too, like the orb phenomena, like I've witnessed the orbs in like paranormal type situations, not even like in the woods, looking for Bigfoot. And so, excuse me, I had always, thought that was on just a paranormal realm, only ghosts do the thing. However, until the first time I went to the Land Between the Lakes and we were out in the middle of the woods, man, and we were all seeing them, and they were all around us, so.
Because I think orbs could be like spiritual because we see it happen a lot of times with spiritual, but also I think it's 19 hertz. What is 19 hertz also called? It's called a paranormal frequency.
Yeah.
So what if like, let's get out of Bigfoot. What if spirits literally work on a different frequency of time and like reality? If they work on a different frequency, they can show up in any way they want to, possibly like as an orb, because that's what we're perspecting in our reality, in our frequency. I think especially the spiritual realm works not in a different like reality, but on a different frequency. Yeah. Maybe we're vibrating like this while they're vibrating like this. Maybe it's different vibrations. Yeah. What if something like a cryptid, like a Bigfoot, could use those vibrations to affect like our own perspectives, our own listening and seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've given me a lot of food for thought here, Ryan.
No kidding. No kidding.
I'm someone that I like leaving people with more questions than answers because, like what I said, how can you get to the answers without the questions?
Absolutely.
Exactly. I'm stuck on the vibration thing where they distort reality or something like that. That blew my mind.
Because like it's been shown, like for instance, I can't think of the particular experiment name, but it's been shown that like there are multiple realities. We know from quantum physics. Like quantum physics is also something I really look into because it's how interesting it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally recently, we could literally degrade a piece of DNA, and if that's degraded, and we can literally go turn back time and fit in pieces that were there thousands of years ago. Super interesting stuff. But like quantum physics, who says quantum physics isn't what the paranormal is?
Right.
Like, for instance, Ron Moorhead's book, The Quantum Bigfoot. I love that book because
it's a great book. I have it too.
Like, of course, like what does science do when they want to make something seem sciencey? They put the word quantum in it. But really, quantum physics is all about like looking at what's not there and looking at what we do know is there that we can't see. Like, I always tell people this: seeing is not always believing, and not seeing is not always believing as well. Like, there are particles around you right now that you don't see, but they are there. So when it comes to like Bigfoot and the paranormal, like just because you don't perceive it in a certain way doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. That's what Carl Sagan would always say. Like Bigfoot, cryptozoology, paranormal, like this is all interesting stuff because science and superstition, like the ideas of mixing the normal and the paranormal, the ideas of mixing logic and the illogical. We have to have that marriage of information in order to get to the answers. Like always, what's the time-honored tradition of science versus religion? The ideas of logic versus belief. But how can we merge those perspectives? I think with a merging of those perspectives, we can get to the real answers of reality.
Yeah.
Wow. So, kind of getting back to exploring and stuff. You mentioned, Africa. You mentioned the Great Northwest, Texas, Midwest. Is there a place other than those that we mentioned that has your attention? That is like a big red flag that you
like a hotspot or something, maybe
hotspot that you need to go to.
Hotspot. I'll probably say either Southeast Asia or Eastern Australia, because let me do Australia first. First of all, Australia is Australia. It's literally like the land out under is a very unknown area. Like Europeans have only been on it for less than a couple hundred years.
Right.
So, like, and there's a lot of really random like cryptids seen there. Like you have the ideas of like the Queensland tiger. People literally see like a tiger-like species that looks like a marsupial lion or a thylacoleo. That was a prehistoric species that once lived in Australia. The thylacine. The thylacine is literally one of my favorite animals to ever exist. Megalania. People literally reference seeing giant 20-foot goannas or like a giant Komodo dragon. And of course, Megalania was a giant Komodo dragon-like species that lived in Australia. I think it's a really good hotspot for cryptozoology. Another one is Southeast Asia because there's the amount of cryptids seen in that region. Everything from parts of India all the way to Vietnam. There's a lot of unknown primates seen there. The Bukit Timor monkey man of like parts of like Thailand, the Nguni Rung or the Batutut found in Vietnam, the Mandibarung of India, of course the Yeti. Like it is on my bucket list to at least go to Nepal once in my life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff down there that because of just international relations, a lot of Americans haven't gone to, and maybe one or two TV shows have gone there for cryptozoology, but that's pretty much it. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff down there that we don't know about right now. That if you go and talk to the locals, oh yeah, this thing is seen here, this is seen here, and like there's a lot of cryptids that are seen in the Southeast Asia that people don't bring up anymore. For instance, the Blue of Nepal. the Nepalese talk about a giant like Komodo dragon-like species that lived in the like steamy jungles in the valleys of the Himalayas. That was last referenced by World War II veterans in the 1940s, but since then, it's like no news about it at all because people aren't looking for it anymore.
Right.
What if this species is extinct, or what if it's not? What if there are literally valleys of not like lost worlds, but what if there are like animals down there that we just don't know about? Like we know the Saola. The Saola is known as like the Vietnamese unicorn. That's a large bovid species the size of a small cow. We didn't know existed until like the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, you're springing on all kinds of different ones I've never heard of.
Yeah. I mean, just like the oceans are vastly unexplored, really. I mean, there's got to be several parts on this earth that, above ground that just aren't explored. And, who knows what's in there? I mean,
Yeah,
like you said,
like
find all
I
kinds of stuff.
I always tell people the perspective of that we know everything is totally erroneous, totally idiotic. Like I've talked to even friends of mine that say, "Oh, why do you do this stuff? We know everything that's in the wilderness." I'm like,
No.
okay. I tell people to do this little thought experiment. Look up Seattle, Washington, and then zoom out on Google Maps. You see city, green, 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 green. Like you can literally leave North California, Sacramento, California, and walk to Anchorage, Alaska, and walk from there to there without even seeing another person, without crossing a highway, without literally just walking through the woods. Because how much wilderness is truly out there?
Right.
Like I tell people, like look at the map of the United States at night. You see all the lights, but pockets of light connected by highways. That's pretty much it. There's so much wilderness out there that we haven't explored yet that we have to think about exploring in the first place because a lot of people have the perspective of we know everything. We know the animals that live out there. What if we don't? What if there are truly mysteries out there to be solved? That's what cryptozoology is all about. That's what the paranormal field's all about, is knowing about these mysteries in the first place and then going and looking for the answers.
Yeah.
Those are some of my really favorite pictures from, satellite images of the Earth at night, where you see like, say, for example, St. Louis lit up, and then you go not that far and it's, complete dark. I think those are just really cool. And I mean, what is out there? I mean,
like another good region I always bring up is like South America. Like South America is really undiscovered, a lot of undiscovered locations. Not just because of the Amazonian rainforest, but also like Paraguay, parts of Argentina, because of the Andes Mountains. There's a lot of like parts of Patagonia that just aren't really talked about, that aren't really explored. Like if you look at like the classic cryptozoology books, things like On the Track of Unknown Animals, On in the Wake of Sea Monsters, these books from like the 60s and 70s bring up a lot of these cryptids. But since then, I'll be honest, just in my perspective, academic cryptozoology, the ideas of like academia and cryptozoology have really separated. Like in my perspective, like I'm young, of course, but with me seeing cryptozoology in the past like 5 or 10 years, it's a lot more storytelling. It's a lot more being able to be, oh, this is this eyewitness account, this is this story. But what's beyond the story? What's beyond that reality? Like, it's not just about storytelling, it's about the research. It's about like, okay, I have these stories, but what do I do with these stories? Let's put them in a data set. Let's maybe use some AI to see what type of patterns we can see. That's really what I'm in the cryptozoology for. Of course, collecting the stories is great, but that's not how we get to the answers. That's how you become a good YouTuber. That's how you get a good channel, but it's not really the research, the academic research that's going to be used to accept the world of cryptozoology in the future.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're well on your way to that.
I hope so. Like it's funny because like I'm a co-teacher in the classroom. I'm not like a full-time teacher, and I'm like, oh, I want to become a teacher, like full-time teacher in the future, and I want to tell people I hunt Bigfoot. Like you get that like look of like, oh, you're weird. And it's like, hi guys, I think I'm fairly smart and kind of well educated. I hope, but like when you bring up like the ideas of like paranormal research or like cryptozoology, it's like people subtract 20 IQ points from you automatically because they don't think you have a good grasp of reality. And I'm like, no, like here's the science, because I really think the science is what really holds the people in. Yeah, the story hooks you, but then the science keeps you. It really shows that, oh no, this is what this really could be. And then you use that science and the mix of science and like the hook of like stories to really get to the flesh and bones, get to the real like meat and potatoes of this field.
Somebody I worked with, I was talking about this show and doing what we do, talking about what we talk about. And I mentioned Dogman or something. And he looked at me with like I had 5 heads or something like that. He's like, "Do you really believe that? I mean, I could see maybe Bigfoot, but do you really believe there's like a dog man or stuff like that?" And I'm like, what's to say there's not? You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, if Bigfoot could be real, Dogman could be real, Goatman could be real, things like that. Like, for instance, I always bring this up like with like the Dogman phenomena. Like, there isn't really biological precedence for Dogman, but just because that's out of my wheelhouse doesn't mean I won't research it. Like, I love taking eyewitness accounts of Dogman. I love doing Dogman research because it's how interesting it is. First of all, I'm a big fan of dogs and canids in the first place. So it's like, oh, cool. I like werewolves. Like, I'll talk about Dogman. But then it kind of gets into the reality of, like, what could the paranormal be? What could these creatures truly be? Because I think that Dogman is a totally different species or totally different creature than Bigfoot. Like, I think Bigfoot's a living, breeding animal living in the woods. I think Dogman's something that could be a living, breeding animal in the woods, but it doesn't start that way. It starts somewhere else. Where that origin point is, I don't know. Right. And that's where, like, it's really interesting to see where could that go.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think, just like people, there's good and bad people in this world, do you think there is good and bad Bigfoot?
Of course. I think what I say with animals all the time. Like, I think I've heard Cliff Berkman put it the best. If Bigfoot was an evil monster that wanted to kill humans, we wouldn't be in the woods right now. We probably wouldn't even be around right now.
Right.
Like, if a good person has a bad day, I think Bigfoot could have a bad day too. Like, I think there could be ones that maybe are highly territorial that if you were to enter the territory, oh yeah, you're gonna be the next missing 411 victim. But I think there are also the ideas of like, I think these animals are smart enough that they know if I kill one person, now there's gonna be a bunch of people with fluorescent vests out in the woods now looking for them and possibly finding me. I think they have the intelligence enough that they wouldn't go after humans, not necessarily. But then again, look at like the ideas of man-eaters in the past with regular animals. There's been the lions of Sabo. There's been the tiger of Bangladesh. If these animals are injured, they go after humans. If a Bigfoot hurt its knee and needs a nice, easy prey species, us humans are not meant to be running from predators. That's why we have guns. So maybe they would go after a human every so often. We have the ideas of Bigfoot's going after pets. There's been plenty of stories of people's dogs and cats and owls being predated by unknown animals, Bigfoot, devil monkeys, stuff like that in the past. So I think there could be good ones and bad ones. But if they were like an evil monster living in the woods, we wouldn't have the national park system right now. Yellowstone wouldn't exist.
Right.
Right.
I have to agree.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty interesting stuff, man. Got to tell you.
Very interesting. I mean, like you said before, he's given us all kinds of different
food for thought,
species
man.
and things to think about. You know, good Lord.
And that's the funny thing, like for cryptozoology, of course, Bigfoot's the big name getter, but there's so many, especially cryptids here in North America, that people haven't heard about. Like, for instance, I think I brought it up Tuesday with an interview I did with Chris Jordan because we were talking about the dire wolves recently. The Wahila. Like people like have never heard about the Wahila before. This is literally a giant white wolf like species that's seen up in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Amarok. The Amarok is literally a animal from Inuit legends that's literally a half human, half wolf species.
Oh, wow.
That is like a modern day dog man. Like there's a lot of stories and a lot of mythology of different species and creatures seen around North America that people have never heard about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, you guys might have heard of it because it's kind of seen in like the in Kentucky, like parts like Kentucky and Tennessee, the Pope like monster. The Pope monster is like a local colloquial name for a goat man creature seen in the Pope Lake Trestle. There's the Lake Worth monster here in San Antonio, here in Texas. There's a lot of stories that might go to a reality of an unknown species living in North America that is beyond Bigfoot. There's a lot of like. That's why I think my third book is literally titled "Beyond Bigfoot: The Other Unknown Primates in North America." Like, Bigfoot's not the only thing that's living out there in the woods. What else is out there?
And that's scary.
Yeah. Like, for instance, like that book's a lot about like the devil monkey phenomena. Like we talked about Gugwe earlier. I'm like, I look at a lot of research and I'm like, oh, the Bigfoot's scary, but a giant 6 foot tall baboon, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, I'll stay home. I'll stay home.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you brought up the dire wolf. I don't want to talk about the engineering of trying to bring dire wolves back. I don't want to get into that because I think that's for another topic for another show.
That's a whole episode right there.
Yeah. But on, I don't know if you watch The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch TV show on, I think, the History Channel. But one of the episodes, they were walking in a creek and they found an animal skull, and they sent it off to a lab and everything, and it came back. It is very, very, very similar to a direwolf skull. And this was before all the DNA research and trying to recreate it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Because
I did not see that episode.
It was one of the last ones, I think, in season 5.
Okay.
Let me show you a representation of a direwolf skull. Like,
oh wow,
I really own one. So, like, when people talk about dire wolves, it's a totally different, wrong idea of like a large wolf. Yeah, the skull is representative of a wolf, but the tooth structure is totally different. These carnassials much larger than a wolf. Canines. If you look at a wolf canine, it's a lot skinnier and a lot more like serrated.
Wow.
Those are more knives. These are more pickaxes.
Mm-hmm.
These were meant for megafaunal species. These things would take down bison, equids, camels, stuff like that. Like these were meant for giant animals, not like
the size of that.
Huh?
I said, look at the size of that.
Yeah. Compare that to like a human skull. Like dire wolves would have been about 200 pounds, about 4 feet tall at the shoulder. Yeah. These were large species.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow.
And people want to bring these things back. No thanks.
Yeah.
I'm a paleontology guy. I literally have a American lion skull, a short-faced bear skull, a saber-toothed cat skull. Like that's what I'm really all about. It's paleontology and like how can I apply to cryptozoology.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. You know, I have to say this because it's been kind of bugging me. It has nothing to do with cryptozoology or anything that we've been talking about tonight. Watching you talk, your background, where you're sitting and everything, I picture you right now like a cowboy sitting in a saloon. There's a gun on the wall. I mean, with your feet up on the desk, I guess on a table. You have that cowboy vibe going right now.
I guess I live in Texas. I can't get rid of that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's always funny. Like we always make the joke. Like whenever I go to a conference with Lyle or Ken, I remember. I think the first time I spoke at the Falcon Monster conference, Lyle's like, "Okay, I think Ryan's doing pretty good. He has a black hat like all of us. Like I think he's doing pretty good." Like, and I'm like, I was raised in Texas. I was raised to wear a hat. I didn't take your fashion, guys. I'm sorry, but
Right.
it's just I think it's like what the joke I always say, like it's all of us trying to be Indiana Jones at the end of the day. Like
yeah.
Very cool.
Well, Ryan, this has been one very interesting show. I think it's been fantastic listening to you and you sharing all this wonderful information.
Yeah.
Real quick, the Symposium of the Strange, one more time, go to their website, and it is April 23rd. That's this coming Wednesday.
Yep, it's coming up Wednesday.
And you do these every other month.
Yeah, we're trying to do them every other month. We do not know for sure who our next lineup is. I need to talk to Chris more about that on like the logistics of it. But like we try to do it every other month. Like anyone that's in South Texas and Austin area, San Antonio area, all you gotta do is look up Symposium of Strange, purchase the tickets. We also do have tickets available at the door. Kids coming free. It's a really great like event. Like being able to talk to people that you never expect to talk to.
Yeah.
Be able to talk to like fellow researchers and fellow eyewitnesses and share your stories and share your encounters and like not just be another name out there. Like you get to talk to the lecturer, you get to talk to the person presenting and really have an effect on them.
I think that's just a fantastic idea that you guys do that. And if you're not in the Texas area and you are in the Midwest area, say possibly, I don't know, September. There, hey, look at that. He will be at our conference as a special guest September 19th and 20th. So come out and meet Ryan Edwards. For more fun stuff, that would be very interesting. I can't wait to shake your hand.
You're going to have some books too, Ryan, and bring to sell?
Of course, I have my 3 ready to go. I did a purchase order a couple of weeks ago of my first book because I ran out at my last conference. Like I want to bring my books. I'll be there. Like I love talking to people. Of course, I sell my books, sign them, and stuff like that. It's a
awesome.
really fun little thing to do.
Yeah.
And
I look forward to seeing you again.
Of course.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. And of course, the links are going to be in chat where you can get the books and for the symposium where you can find more of Ryan Edwards. So, Ryan, thank you so much. This has been. I'm glad we were able to reschedule last week and connect tonight, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, of course, I love coming on shows like this and sharing my ideas, sharing my perspectives, because all this is really about is just informing people, educating people, and showing people that we don't know everything out there. And
you are definitely a wealth of information about it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like I try not to let it go to my head. I'm just a 23-year-old that just trying to throwing it out there, just trying to if something hits the wall, something hits the wall. If something sticks, something sticks.
Well, you're doing fantastic.
Yeah, don't rub it in about the 23-year-old thing.
I know, right? I'm like 30 years older than you.
I'm always the youngest person at a conference. Actually, I need to talk to Craig Woolheater. I think I might be the youngest speaker at the Texas Bigfoot Conference. And I'm I don't know. That's the thing about my age. It might be oh, cool, this is the future guy. A lot of people are oh, this guy is young. He doesn't know anything. That's why I really bring in the science and all that, because it shows you, I might know a little bit of something.
Yeah. If somebody would ever think that, he's young, he doesn't know anything, you start talking, you would completely blow them away. Yeah, definitely. That blows that theory away.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, this has been fun. I again, thank you again. And we are looking forward to seeing you in person in September in Richmond, Missouri. At our conference, so that'll be fun. Make sure you guys get your tickets to see Ryan and among others as well. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for watching today. Krista, it was good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, I missed you.
For sure.
So, all righty, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a happy Easter if you're celebrating Easter.
Yes.
That'll be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, everybody. We will see you later. I'm gonna get to the right thing. I always do this wrong.
Night, everybody.
Right. See ya, guys. Oh, it's just this button. See you guys. Have a great night. Oop.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.